This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, municipal election eve. Divisive issues and a lack of incumbents fuel some of the races. Bittersweet journey. Young ball players head to Florida without their missing coach. And golden goals. These Nova Scotians are skating into the 80-plus Hockey Hall of Fame.
An incredible mid-October weekend shaping up with lots of sunshine, mild temperatures, and the fall foliage peaking. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. Tomorrow is Municipal Election Day in Nova Scotia, and some voters will have plenty of choice. While many municipalities are seeing acclamations, others have a large slate of candidates. Experts say divisive issues and lack of incumbents could be factors. Municipal reporter Haley Ryan has tonight's top story.
Although the move to amalgamate the town and county of Antigonish is a dead issue, some say it's hanging over the campaign. Longtime town councillor Sean Cameron is in the open race for mayor and says he's never seen this kind of buzz.
It's taking a lot longer to go door to door. People have questions. People have really informative questions. And I think that's the result of this consolidation. People are more engaged. They're buying in, and you can see that.
Some appear mobilized enough to run. Multiple candidates for both town and county did criticize consolidation. Emily Chasson of the Cody Institute at St. Francis Xavier University is the other mayoral candidate. There are 11 people running for town council seats, with only 2 incumbents.
It creates a lot of excitement and I think just a lot of general engagement because there's curiosity about it versus being like, oh, I know that person, they have already been a councillor.
Over in the Annapolis Valley, the town of Kentville is seeing one of the largest slates of candidates. 14 people are running for 6 council seats, with only 3 incumbents, and there's an open race for mayor. Some candidates say they were pushed to run because of infighting on council and past decisions.
Councillor, my letter is in the audience if anybody wants the entire document. That is incorrect information.
Outgoing Mayor Sandra Snow says the social media group became very critical of council and her personally, and some of its members are now on the ballot.
What you have is a lot of keyboard warriors that have gone after very specific issues, and they have presented half-truths, mistruths, and never the whole story.
Some experts say social media can be a double-edged sword. Online hate might keep people from running, but residents can also become passionate about local issues through social media and get the courage to step forward.
I think a lot of people were feeling more inclined to think like, why shouldn't we have a voice heard? Why shouldn't we be at the table? So I think that there's some good energy that comes from having a lot of these new folks, in the running, in the mix.
Election day is tomorrow, October 19th. Haley Ryan, CBC News, Antigonish.
50 years ago this week, a massive storm hit Cape Breton. To this day, it still holds a number of records for one of the worst October storms in this province. Our Ryan Snoddon has more.
It was October 20th, 1974, when a legendary storm hit Cape Breton with hurricane-force winds. The storm, which brought peak gusts of 138 kilometers per hour down dozens of trees, shattered windows, and ripped the roofs off of homes, ultimately leaving 33 families homeless. A state of emergency was declared. The storm itself was not a hurricane, but a powerful fall storm which battered the island for 6 to 8 hours. The storm moved up the eastern seaboard, bringing with it some warm subtropical air, and the system then wrapped in a very chilly air mass which was spilling out of the Arctic and into eastern Canada. The result was a very strong storm. Unfortunately, there was no warning for the residents of Cape Breton as the developing storm was expected to remain just offshore. And as the winds ramped up on October 20th, folks in Sydney described scenes of chaos. With it being a Sunday, many residents were out and about and were scrambling to get home as the winds became severe. Folks in the hard-hit neighborhood of McDonald Heights were forced to evacuate as their roofs began to blow off and the windows began to shatter from the flying debris.
It was just a real nightmare. Everybody was screaming, mothers running with their children clinging and crying, and just everything flying in the air, everybody just frightened for their lives.
Details from that day outside of Sydney are harder to come by. However, there were reports of heavy damage in Lingan and New Waterford, and many fishing boats were driven aground. The Canadian press reported 1 death in a barn collapse, and 4 fishermen were presumed drowned during the storm. The cold air wrapping in behind the storm brought a historic snowfall to the mainland. The western half of the province picked up 20 to 40 centimeters of snow, including the Halifax area. Greenwood saw 30 centimeters of snow, with reports that fruit growers in the Annapolis Valley were fearing heavy apple crop damage. The snowfall from this storm remains the October record holder for many communities in central and western Nova Scotia. Ryan Snoddon, CBC News, Halifax.
Yeah, Ryan, interesting story, and thankfully it doesn't sound like we're looking like anything like that for this weekend.
No, thankfully not. And tip of the cap to all the Cape Bretoners over the years who flagged that storm for me, talked about it. Every time there was a big storm, they would say, well, how about the 74 storm? So I had that in the back of my mind for a couple of years, waited for the 50th anniversary. And so thanks to all the Cape Bretoners for giving me the heads up about that one so I could go back and dig up that great footage and that story. So yeah, couldn't be further from that story this weekend. As we can see, high pressure is going to be dominating all across Nova Scotia, all across the region, in fact. Temperatures 14 to 16 degrees across the entire province tomorrow, including Cape Breton. Those southwest winds will be even a tad warmer on Sunday. A couple of clouds in the mix, but beautiful temperatures. And yeah, it is really going to be lovely. We've got this little front that's going to be sinking through the region, bringing that little bit of cloud cover for Sunday, but overall great. Chance for 20-degree temperatures on Monday. How long can this hold? Well, we'll answer that question with your 7-day coming up in a few minutes, Amy.
Yes, inquiring minds want to know. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, with speculation of an early provincial election call mounting, Liberal leader Zach Churchill and Premier Tim Houston both suggested yesterday that the other was a liar looking to mislead the public in pursuit of votes. At the heart of the accusation is a new fundraising letter from the Tories. It asks people if they stand with Tim Houston and his team against the federal carbon tax or with Justin Trudeau and Zach Churchill in support of it. Churchill has said multiple times he does not support the federal tax. He says the Premier is trying to distract from his own record in the province.
He's got more revenue than any Premier before. And despite that, people's lives are getting harder. Our healthcare system is getting worse. And he is more focused on attacking his political opponents and lying to get votes than he is about being there to help people who need him right now, who he was elected to serve.
Churchill's party has suggested replacing the federal carbon tax with a cap and trade system. Houston sees no difference.
He tried to introduce a sneaky price on carbon, which is a carbon tax. He supports the price on carbon. He supports the carbon tax.
He's lying when he says he doesn't support it?
I believe that he supports the carbon tax, as evidenced by his own, the bills that they introduced. It is a price on carbon.
Nova Scotia has the federal carbon tax because Ottawa rejected a proposal from Houston that did not place a price on carbon. The proposal instead would have relied on policy goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. RCMP has arrested a young person in relation to uttering threats at a high school in West Hants Regional Municipality. On Wednesday, police received reports that a young person was threatening to bring a weapon to school with plans to target specific students. Officers arrested the student later that evening, also seizing a firearm and 2 replica firearms. Police did not say what school was involved. Well, children with disabilities who play baseball in Sydney Mines are headed to Florida. It's a trip that's been planned for 3 years now, but their coach won't be going with them. He's been missing for months. Kyle Moore explains.
On October 28th, these miracle athletes will be on a plane to the Sunshine State. It's a trip they are excited about and one that's been in the making for years. But their team will be short a teammate. Justin McDonald is the coach and president. He's been missing for more than 3 months.
They check every time that they see me and say, do we have our hero back? That's heartbreaking for an average person to understand. Where has a person gone?
McDonald was last seen at the Irving gas station in North Sydney on July 7th. His burned-out car was located a few days later about 30 minutes down the highway on Ormond Crescent. Despite several police and community searches, there's been no sign of him. McDonald says they will wear the number 32 with a heart on their shirts in his memory.
He's been the grounding of this team. It's Coach Justin. And we have to go for him.
McDonald says the Miracle Athlete Society was put in place to allow anyone of any ability to play the sport. It was a passion her son had. He wanted the children to have an experience of a lifetime.
He has 4 siblings that have these disabilities, and he's always enjoyed being able to see the big smiles on their face and the way it warmed their spirit when something like this, good things happen to them.
The athletes will play a team from Orlando and also visit Disney World. McDonald says she will continue to search for her son, but that this trip is about healing.
It is very challenging, and all we would ask is for one person to step forward and to say where he's at. He needs to go to peace, and this trip is part of the peace that we're going to have with our athletes.
Meanwhile, Cape Breton Regional Police say their investigation is continuing. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney Mines.
The main distributor of supplies to food banks in Nova Scotia will meet with the province at the end of the month. Community Services Minister Brendan McGuire says he wants to hear directly from Feed Nova Scotia about the growing demand and what he can do to help.
We want to make sure that if people need to use food banks, that they're getting the resources they need. So we're going to sit down with them and say, as a minister and from the department, what can we do to make sure that you're on a path to sustainability and you're on a path where you feel you can do the best possible work for our most vulnerable Nova Scotians.
McGuire says the Nova Scotia government will do what it can as quickly as possible to help food banks get what they need to be able to feed hungry Nova Scotians. The Africville Museum has enlisted the help of school students to deal with a wildlife issue that's making quite a mess. The museum is hoping the kids can find a solution and also have a bit of fun by making it a competition. Gareth Hampshire explains.
These students and their teacher are on a mission, heading with scarecrows they made as part of a school project to Africville. They're hoping their creations will do the trick and scare the geese away.
Because we made the eye right there, and to make the geese scared and not come back and poop everywhere in the hair. But yeah, we just don't want the geese coming back and pooping on Africville.
They've been working on them in art class under the guidance of their teacher since last month.
Awesome. Make them look a little spooky.
Stuffing, sewing, and stapling, and making up their own characters.
His name is Robert. He was a streamer during the time, but now he during COVID, but then COVID hit and he went to crap.
And adding little touches they hope will make the birds think twice before stopping in Africville.
Because it has big lips and the eyes are really big and it's a little like toddler.
The geese must have known we were coming because they're not around today, but about 60 of them have tried to set up here, and sometimes you have to watch your step.
The problem itself is really gross. It's a big mess when you have that many Canada geese. The droppings are quite large. It's a real problem in our parking lot, on our lawn.
The students have learned about how people in the historic Black community were forced to leave Africville, but have never been here.
Yeah, I love giving back to Africville and just helping out with them because the geese are messing it up.
Their teacher's impressed with what they've come up with.
So there are some streamer bits because we know from a little bit of research that we did that the birds don't tend to like things that flap around and move. We got really arts and crafty with it, so some of the faces on them are kind of bizarre and strange, and hopefully the geese find them unappealing and they leave.
More than 20 scarecrows are here. They'll be ready for people to see on Saturday and vote for their favorite using QR codes. And the winner will be announced on October 27th. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, it sounds like they gave those geese a good fright already. Look at that beautiful scene on this Friday. Ryan is up next with his full weather forecast. See you in a few. All right, more than halfway through October, and boy, the weather's really sounding nice for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some cool days so far, but yeah, we're
not unbearable, but
not
chilly.
Unbearable, but yeah, we're trending in the opposite direction now, warming up, and what a weekend we have shaping up. And again, it's really just, you know, all three. We got the sunshine, we got the mild temperatures, and the fall foliage.
Perfect.
It's a pumpkin spice latte weekend.
Sweater weather. No, I guess not sweater weather. T-shirt weather?
Well, sweater weather in the morning, because
Yeah.
that's actually a great segue to where I'm going to start with this forecast. So chilly night again tonight. Have a look at our webcam video shot, and you can see this beautiful shot from Burnt Coat Head, and just there's no cloud cover at all, right? It's just sunshine, and or what's left of it is the sun is, of course, setting as we speak. But it's going to be a clear night tonight, and as a result, temperatures are going to be very chilly, much like they were this morning. You can see the difference between along the coast and inland, right? So if you're along the coast, that ocean water is still mild, and that is going to help to keep those temperatures right next to the coast mild as well. Inland is where we're really cooling off and dipping into those, especially close to the freezing mark and even below the freezing mark, especially in those low-lying areas. We recovered quite nicely today. Got to 16 in Yarmouth as expected. That was our hot spot today in the south and west, but yeah, even exceeded expectations. Forecast high was 15 there. And you can see current winds in from the north to northeast. Those winds are going to continue to ease tonight with those clear skies. And again, it is going to be a frosty start for tomorrow with some fog patches developing. That low moving out, high pressure moving in, and we've got this big front dividing North America right now between, well, September-like warmth here, surging up ahead of the front, and yeah, more a reality check in terms of where we should be for this time of year, moving in behind this front. And you can see, yeah, 9 degrees in Calgary and Vancouver. Yeah, that front will eventually catch up to us as well. We will see that cooler air, but not until a week from today, by the looks of things right now. Temperatures tonight, right near the freezing mark, give or take a couple of degrees. And again, if you're right along the coastline, more like mid-single digits. And so, yeah, as we time things out with the hour by hour, you can see cooling off pretty quickly overnight. Hardly any clouds. And again, along the coastlines, 4, 5, 6 degrees inland. That's where we're going to be closer to that freezing mark, even just inland with those clear skies for tonight. Now, Saturday, just terrific. Really looking nice. We'll see wall-to-wall sunshine, 13 to 16 degrees across Cape Breton with those southwest winds, 20 gusting 30 to 40 kilometers per hour into central parts of the province. And yeah, we'll see widespread temperatures in the 15 to 17 degree range as well. A bit of an onshore wind in Parsboro. That's why temps are slightly cooler there, but we're definitely splitting hairs here. You can see Yarmouth at 14, but inland likely a better chance for some 16-degree temperatures, Kedzie back towards Bridgewater. Now into Sunday, onshore winds again in the Yarmouth area near 15, 17, 18 degrees here across the rest of the mainland. And it looks like Cape Breton will range between around 16 to 17 degrees as well. Now, that area of high pressure sliding off to the south, and this frontal boundary coming in from the north. Isolated shower chance for northern New Brunswick. That is it for the region. We will see some cloud cover kicking up with this front, enough to bring a mix of sun and cloud to us on Sunday. But overall, that is about it. Bit more cloud cover in the wake of that front on Monday, but a southwest wind. And yeah, we're looking at another reinforced flow that will keep our temperatures very mild. Monday, a pretty good shot at hitting 20 degrees by the looks of things. Could do it on Sunday, but it's looking more likely Monday. Staying mild Tuesday, Wednesday, and there's the front. And yeah, a week from today, temperatures cut in half. But what a run till we get there. And it's all about the jet stream, right? That jet stream way off to the north over the next few days. Then that big cool pocket here, and that sweeps into the region, and that's when we're back to reality. But that's a week away, Amy. Long way before we get there.
Oh yeah, we don't need reality at all right now.
No, definitely not.
Perfect. All right, that will be really great. Thanks very much for that, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, we'll introduce you to 2 hockey players about to become members of the 80-plus Hockey Hall of Fame. A big honor for a pair of Nova Scotia hockey players. They're about to be inducted into the 80-plus Hockey Hall of Fame. I'm here with Gary Casavecchi and Hubert Frugier. First of all, I've got to say, you guys look fantastic out there. What is it about the sport that you love so much?
Oh, just being on the ice and, skating around and joking with the guys, and we don't take it too seriously, but we take it seriously enough, I guess.
Speak for yourself.
There's a bit of chirping going on out there.
Yeah, like Hubert said, and it's the love of the game and living the dream. We just love it out there. You don't think of anything else when you're on the ice.
Okay, so you guys got the news that you're both going to be inducted in the 80-plus Hockey Hall of Fame. What went through your mind?
Well, it was pretty exciting, really. Who would have guessed that we'd be given that honor? But
what does it mean to you, Gary?
Well, same thing. We didn't expect it. Tony on our team, you've seen, 88 years old, still going strong. So, he inspires us, and he actually put our names forward, sent us video, showed us what a great event it was. So, hey, what the heck? The key thing is to live to be our 80, then you can get there.
Well, when was the first time you remember being on the ice?
Oh, probably when I was about 5 years old, on the ponds in River Bourgeois, Cape Breton.
What about you, Gary?
Yeah, about the same age, Lake Micmac. I'm born and brought up out there, so played my hockey there. Yeah, same thing. Dartmouth minor hockey.
What is the secret to playing, into your 80s and, not just sort of half-heartedly? You guys are giving it all on the ice.
Well, I think for me anyway, was I never stopped. I played all my life, so I didn't have to, work my way back. So anyway, it seemed to have worked a little bit. So.
Yeah, much the same. I took a short hiatus when my young fella got in hockey, and I got coaching for a while and fit that in with my shift working and curling career. But no, it's the same thing, a very short break. And the key is playing with guys that you enjoy being with and keeping the age group sort of compatible. We're not chasing 18, 20-year-olds. That doesn't work.
Now, you play a couple times a week?
We play Tuesdays and Thursdays here, and I play in the summertime once a week just to keep going.
So you guys are going to head to Ontario soon. Tell me about what you expect from the ceremony.
Well, we're not exactly sure. We've seen Tony's videos when he was inducted about 4 years ago. So, be about the same thing as a banquet, and then I think they crown you with a hockey stick.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, you get dubbed with a hockey stick. It's a Bobby Hull, and for 16 years the inductees have been autographing this stick. So, but we expect to see some good 80-year-old hockey players there. I'm sure there's going to be some Tonys there for sure. But
now,
it's going to be interesting.
And your families are going up as well?
Yes.
Yeah. What is it going to be like having them with you while you get this honor?
I think they'll probably enjoy it more than we will, but yeah, it'll be great.
You're not relishing the spotlight too much?
I don't relish spotlight.
And you also have a game against Team USA.
We're going to have two games. So it's going to be a busy schedule because we have a practice on Tuesday and photos and all that, and then we're going to have two games, 20-minute stop time on Wednesday and another one on Thursday. So there's going to be a lot of slow hockey.
I don't know about slow. You guys are moving pretty fast.
Yes, oh yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you.
All right, Hubert, what's your prediction? Team USA or Team Canada?
Oh, I think we can do it this time. They lost to Team US last year, and they really want to win it. We really want to win it back this year. So
yeah. You're due.
We are due.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations to both of you, and enjoy your Hall of Fame experience.
Well, thank you very much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming out.
Ali Enriquez is a young, classically trained violinist from Havana, Cuba, but she now calls Halifax home. It was here in Halifax that she was first introduced to and fell in love with jazz. The CBC's Katie Jackson met up with the musician to talk about her musical journey to Canada.
I love classical, I love jazz, I love Latin, I love rap, I love hip-hop, I love Turkish traditional music, like any type of music. They're so beautiful. Hello, I am Ali Enriquez. I am from Havana, Cuba, and I am a musician. I started out as a classical musician, and then I got into jazz. I went to a music school until grade 9. After that, I moved to Halifax with the help of Jeff Goodspeed and Los Primos. So Los Primos is a non-profit organization that helps cultural exchange between Halifax or Canada in general and Havana or Cuba in general. My first time diving into jazz was when I came here, and when it was my turn, I started trying to improvise, but I made some mistakes and I freaked out, and then I ran outside and then I was crying and everything, and then one friend of the family was like, "We're all allowed to make mistakes. This is just your beginning." I love improvising, but at first I showed some resistance to it because it's a scary thing to do. I think it's really an act of bravery because you're exposing your patterns, you're exposing your weaknesses, your strengths, so many things. It takes courage. So my songwriting career is just this old, and I'm so excited for what's to come. Knowing one's culture can influence your identity so much as a musician and as a person. If you know your roots, if you know where you come from, then you can move forward. That's if you know your past, you can move forward into your future. Also, being in Canada introduced me to so many other genres and so many other ways of looking at music, so many different perspectives. So yeah.
Coming up, Turning Point. Could the death of Yahya Sinwar be a pivotal moment in Israel's war with Hamas? And spotlight on Michigan, how Arab and Muslim voters in the state could determine who wins the White House. Welcome back. We have details on a proposed settlement that could see 3 tobacco giants pay out billions of dollars to provinces and thousands of smokers. But first, we go to Jerusalem on how this week's killing of the top Hamas leader will affect the war in Gaza.
I'm Crystal Gamansing in Jerusalem. Official confirmation on the death of Yahya Sinwar coming from Hamas. Senior official Khalil al-Hayya saying that he was in fact killed in Rafah. However, he also addressed the issue of the 101 hostages believed to still be held in Gaza, and he says they will not be freed anytime soon.
نقول للمتباكين على أسرى الاحتلال لدى المقاومة إن هؤلاء الأسرى لن يعودوا لكم إلا بوقف العدوان على شعبنا في غزة والانسحاب الكامل منها وخروج أسرانا الأبطال من سجون الاحتلال.
With the death of Sinwar, many had hoped that there would be movement on the hostage front and could be some deal reached to see them freed. Many saw Sinwar as an obstacle to peace, including U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, who addressed the issue on the sideline of the NATO meeting in Brussels.
Sinwar devoted his life to wrecking the chances of peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. He's finally been brought to justice, and that removes a huge obstacle.
We do know that the Israeli Prime Minister has said that the war is not over, that it will continue. And in fact, today, images were released of troop buildups along northern Gaza's border. There are intense diplomatic efforts underway. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be visiting Israel, no doubt trying to push Israeli officials to come up with some plan to de-escalate the situation, not only in Gaza, but as well in Lebanon. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Jerusalem.
I'm Megan Fitzpatrick, covering what could be a major legal settlement with 3 big tobacco companies that could be worth billions of dollars. This has been a long legal battle dating back to the late 1990s. There have been several class action lawsuits that were filed in Quebec, and at the same time, different provinces and territories have taken legal action against these companies. For the last couple of years, negotiations have been going on, and last night, some court documents were filed by a court-appointed mediator who's making a proposed settlement, forcing the 3 companies, JTI McDonald, Rothmans, Benson and Hedges, and Imperial Tobacco Canada, to pay a grand total of $32.5 billion. About $25 billion would go to the provinces and territories for their healthcare systems. About $4 billion would go to claimants in Quebec, and about $2.5 billion would go to other claimants in other parts of Canada. There are different rules around the eligibility for who can get compensation, and $1 billion would go into a new foundation for cancer and other smoking-related illnesses for research. This proposed settlement would not include an admission of liability from the tobacco companies or any sort of apology for past wrongs.
And as a result of this litigation, tens of thousands of Canadians will receive very significant awards. This has never happened anywhere in the world.
There has been some mixed reaction to this proposed settlement. Rob Cunningham from the Canadian Cancer Society says this could be a missed opportunity.
This is a one-time historic opportunity to better regulate and control the tobacco industry and to reduce tobacco use, prevent people from getting cancer, heart attack, stroke, emphysema, and we're missing that opportunity.
His group is urging the provinces and territories to withhold their approval until some modifications can be made to this proposed settlement. At a news conference in Quebec today, some family members of one of the original plaintiffs in one of the Quebec class action lawsuits said they feel a sense of relief today. This proposed settlement would need to be approved by the claimants, by the provinces and territories, and by the court itself. If all of those approvals are received, the money could start flowing in early 2025. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Toronto.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are both in Michigan today. It speaks to how important winning the state is to both presidential candidates. Chris Reyes is in Dearborn, Michigan, where a single issue is having a big impact on voters.
We're in Michigan, home to one of the largest Muslim and Arab communities in the United States. Here in Dearborn, Arab Americans make up the majority of the population, and you really get that sense on this street with the businesses and the shops. In 2020, Joe Biden won this swing state by a sliver, in part because of the overwhelming support from that community. 4 years later, that support has all but imploded, and it has everything to do with the Biden administration's policy on Israel.
I cannot emphasize my disgusting with the current administration and their lack of leadership, their lack of empathy toward the Palestinian people, toward the Lebanese people.
Michigan is considered to be one of the 7 swing states in this election, which could potentially make the sizable Arab and Muslim vote a very powerful one. But even with Kamala Harris's multiple visits to the state, it seems many in the community are not willing to back her.
Muslims in Michigan are very politically empowered, and a lot of talk on the street by some is, well, in order for Muslims to get respect and in order to change the foreign policy, that the Democrats need to be punished to take the Muslims more seriously, and this means punish them at the polls, even at the risk of Mr. Trump becoming president again.
Harris did get the endorsement of Engage, a Muslim voter advocacy group. Trump has scored his own endorsements from the community.
They are at least giving us a seat at the table. They're at least hearing our concerns. And that is something that has been missing from the Democratic Party for months and months and months now. They've ostracized Arabs and Muslims from the DNC, from even meeting with Harris, from even listening to our concerns.
But there are others who are actively advocating against both Harris and Trump, and even backing a third-party candidate.
What have these children done to die like this? Such an unimaginable, horrible death. They don't deserve to die like this. That is why we are abandoning Harris. We are going to hold them accountable.
What we did hear consistently from the Muslim and Arab voters that we talked to here is they're voting on one issue only in this election, and that's ending the war in the Middle East. Chris Reyes, CBC News, Dearborn, Michigan.
American and Canadian authorities have joined forces to fight a new email scam, one that involves sending personal information to potential victims. The CBC's Nicole Williams tells us more about it and what is being done.
With this Bitcoin address.
Craig Stephen was at his home in St. Thomas, Ontario, when he received a troubling email.
It had my home address and phone number, and obviously they had my email, so it was a bit shocking.
The anonymous author of the letter accuses Stephen of venturing into the dark corners of the internet. They say they've hacked his device and can see everything on his screen, switch on his camera and mic.
You've been treading on thin ice with your browsing habits.
The author threatened to share compromising videos of him with everyone he knows, unless he hands over $2,000 US worth of Bitcoin. Stephen knew it was a scam, but says he's never received one with this much of his personal information, including a photo of a house from his street at the bottom.
It kind of took my breath away because it was like, you know, how did they get this information?
A number of police agencies across Ontario have issued warnings about what they describe as a widespread sextortion scam, and several state justice departments in the U.S. have joined them.
I haven't seen one that has this much research put into it.
This woman from Texas was also threatened, and so was her mom.
She was freaking out, and then she started reading it and freaked out more.
Cybersecurity experts say this much personal information, the result of a larger data leak.
Not only do they have richer data about us, but they have tools that make it easier to do very personalized messages to many, many people at the same time.
Experts suggest to always assume messages like this are fake, and if they appear to come from official sources like the police or the CRA, to reach out to those agencies directly to confirm if the message is real. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
Ottawa doctors say they're getting bogged down by the federal government's return to office mandate. As public servants come looking for doctor's notes, it's creating a mountain of paperwork and cutting into time for patient care. Arthur White-Crummey reports.
Dr. Derek McClellan spends every Wednesday dealing with paperwork, all day. Since the federal government pushed its employees back to the office 3 days a week, his public servant patients are adding to the pile.
Typically, someone comes to see me, they've spoken to a manager who said, yeah, go get a medical note if you want to be exempt from these things.
So they do. But that isn't the end of Dr. McClellan's tasks. The patients return to his Riverside South medical office with multi-page forms, sometimes twice.
Looking at the family med crisis right now in the province as a whole, one of the biggest issues is the admin burden, right? So paperwork, time spent doing things that are not directly related to patient care. And so one of the biggest things with this is just adding more paperwork.
Ottawa family doctors first noticed the problem over the spring and summer, after the federal government announced its new return to office mandate. But departments also have a duty to accommodate employees with barriers, and federal directives tell managers to seek documentation. McClellan says that can mean tension with patients if he doesn't see a valid medical reason for their request.
We have no business being involved in this conversation, so it definitely creates some animosity.
Dr. Alex Duong agrees. He says the federal government is downloading its accommodation problem onto family doctors, creating friction in the exam room and eating up their time.
We're being asked to police these return to work policies for the federal government, which is frankly, it's not an effective use of our time. We already have a shortage of doctors. What happens is that the more time I'm spending on these forms, the less time I'm able to spend on patients.
Duong sees an easy solution to the problem.
The government can hire their own physicians who have an interest in occupational medicine to determine restrictions as well.
Arthur White-Crummey, CBC News, Ottawa.
Toxic blue-green algae are plaguing Canada's lakes. It's not just a nuisance, but a dangerous threat. And climate change is likely to make the blooms even worse. The CBC's Jayla Bernstein joined scientists this summer to see an innovative solution being tested on Lake Erie.
So we bring the raw water in.
At this water treatment plant, Rodney Bouchard takes us to his first line of defense, protecting the water they send to 4 municipalities and to the largest concentration of greenhouses in North America. The threat lurking nearby in Lake Erie.
It's been identified as probably the best technology for removing algae.
Blue-green algae blooms specifically can clog water filters, release dangerous toxins, and in this region, they pose a risk to a multi-billion-dollar agri-food industry. Phosphorus-rich and nitrogen-rich runoff is the main culprit, and climate change is likely to make things worse. Union Water Supply is preparing for just that.
Just 1 year, so this is pretty new.
This is new.
But this state-of-the-art clarifying dome is one weapon in the arsenal. CBC got an exclusive look at another, and it's right on Lake Erie. A network of buoys monitoring the water quality 24/7.
The sensors are strategically placed so that we can capture any potential water quality issues that are coming in from all different areas.
These buoys will help predict when a toxic bloom is likely.
These sensors measure water conditions every 10 to 30 minutes. They collect the information, they send it to that other buoy, and it goes real time so people can look at it right now.
What we're looking to do is...
Expected to be up and running by the end of the year, the early warning system will feed data live to the water plant's control room, providing up to 12 hours advance notice, a major improvement on what is now about 30 minutes lead time.
It's caught us by surprise in the past. Having this early warning network would help us manage that, give us a little bit of lead time to get ready for it, and then we can manage it better.
The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says the blooms on Lake Erie have been lasting longer. 1 year sparked a crisis in Ohio when toxins made the tap water undrinkable for 500,000 people. This year, the bloom took off in June, the earliest start ever recorded. But the algae levels on the Canadian side have been manageable so far.
We take it for granted that we have all this water.
He says the Great Lakes may be the largest fresh surface water system on the planet, but they're not invulnerable. A reminder that
even seemingly infinite resources must be cared for. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, on Lake Erie.
Canada's main stock index posted another day of steady gains today, while the U.S. markets also rose. Here's a look at how the markets did as we head to break. All right, not only does the weekend sound fantastic, but the days after that.
Yeah. An extended stretch. And that really, I think, is what sets this little push apart is we do see warm-ups in October, right? We've seen 20 degrees deep into October before. But, you know, it's pretty rare to get a stretch like this day after day after day after day.
We'll take it.
And we will take it indeed. Have a look at our viewer picture of the day. There's going to be so many folks checking out the fall foliage this weekend. And if you're in this area and the northern parts of the Cape Breton Highlands.
Oh, wow.
Obviously,
nice.
This is going to be a real, you know.
Can't go wrong there.
You cannot go wrong. A real popular spot. Thanks to Trish for sharing this. Ryan's Picks at cbc.ca. So many pictures coming in. I showed Amy the inbox today and I was, how do I choose?
Pretty full.
Yeah, very full. And we really appreciate everybody for sharing. sharing your pictures with us. Ryan's Picks at cbc.ca. Have a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Just terrific. 14 to 16, southwest winds, 20 gusting 30 to 40. So it will get a little breezy into the afternoon, but really, really nice. And then for Sunday, we're looking at a westerly wind, which will be in the 15 gusting to 30, maybe 40 kilometer per hour range as well. Again, a bit cooler than in the Tri-County area, but most of us in the 17 and 18 degree range for Sunday. Monday is going to be our day where we'll have our best chance of cracking 20 degrees.
Wow.
Won't be widespread, but it does look like that is looking more and more likely all the time. Bit of a cool down for Tuesday, but really not much. Looking great through Tuesday, Wednesday. Cold front comes through Thursday. Really resets our temperatures for Friday.
All right, well, talking about cold fronts, if there's one thing that penguins share with humans, it's really starting to feel the cold as they get older.
Bridget, she is a 37-year-old Gentoo. She is one of 3 of 37 that we have, so they're amongst the oldest in the country.
Bridget, who they describe as a spicy old lady, is now thriving after her care team crafted a custom wetsuit for her. Since she's an older penguin, they began to notice Bridget was having some problems moving around.
To put her age into perspective, penguins typically live around 15 years in the wild, so her handlers say Bridget is now able to swim and play in the snow again, just like the younger penguins.
Way to go, Bridget.
Not just humans.
That's true. All right, well, that is it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching and have a great weekend.
Take care.